Next point. Is this helping you? This is the rules of engagement. You want to have dynamic relationships where you're getting along? Listen, half of you, when we started 5 years ago, the only two people that are still here after that initial core group that we started with before the merger, before all that, is my wife and I. All of us are scaffolding. All of us are going to end up somewhere else in ministry. And listen, I'm okay with that. We are just like the New Testament. It's transient. I don't care if you're here for 6 weeks or 16 years. We're going to invest in you because sooner or later God's going to say, I want you over here. And we want you to be prepared to be over there. You need the rules of engagement. You need to figure out how to do life because there's too many hurts. There's too many damaged stuff going on in your life. And if you don't know how to fix things and deal with things, you'll be a train wreck. You'll be off to the side of the road like a burning vehicle smoldering in life. Don't bark out orders. Make requests gently. I have learned to give orders to my children, one instruction at a time. You give 3 or 4, they only hear one. And it might be the middle one, not the first one, which can be very volatile. Listen, sweetness. He who gives big hugs and kisses gets big hugs and kisses. Don't bark. Listen, I'm a drill sergeant. Understand, I'm trying to overcome being a youth pastor for 16 years. You know what a youth pastor is? What are you thinking? Use a coaster. Get your feet off of that. Well, how did your mother raise you? I mean, you become a drill sergeant. Doesn't bode well for your children. Next thing, if you're going to make a major decision, if you are married, and I know we have a very independent society now where she might take part of your last name with her name, with a hyphen, which gets real confusing, you know? We're not Spanish, you know, where you take the mother's middle name and this. Listen, don't go buy a car, put it in the driveway, and have a payment of $679 a month without talking to your wife. Don't make major decisions without having communication with your spouse. If you have friends and you're doing stuff together, talk about decisions. Seriously, talk about decisions. You want hurt feelings? Leave somebody out of the choice. I've seen it in this room. Oh, we're going to play putt-putt. Oh, we're going to go dinner here, and then somebody has hurt feelings and they show up at my house. What? I'm the pastor. I hear everything. I tried. I don't want to see it. I don't know. Too much information. Listen. Include the people that you love in your decisions, in your conversations. Next one. Keep your promises or don't make them at all. Child. By the way, you're getting a dinner out of this, okay? That's my deal with my kids. If I refer to my children in a message, they get a meal. It won't be tomorrow or today, but it'll be sometime in the near future.
Did you get their permission before you repeated their embarrassing stories?
No.
No, I violated that rule. What was I going to say? Yeah. So
we're on promises. Keep them or don't.
Keep them or not. Listen. The problem with most parents that I have dealt with is they're inconsistent. It's not that they're too strict. It's not that they're too lenient. It's that they're inconsistent. Most of you guys are dysfunctional. You're so blooming inconsistent.
Yeah, I resemble that remark.
Yes. I want you to hear this. This is serious. You're going to have kids. You're going to have a spouse. You really want good friends? Don't make promises you can't keep. Don't. If you're going to make a promise that you're going to follow through on, or it's better that you don't make the promise whatsoever. My kids, for a decade, Dad, can we do this? Dad, can we do this? Dad, would you promise to take us here? No. Dad, because if I promise you, we will do it. We might not necessarily do it on your time frame, but we will do it. Sarah, do I keep my word?
Yes.
One thing I've done right. Listen. By your love for one another, you'll know that you're my disciples. Your words matter. Are you promise keepers? Are you individuals who keep your word? If you do not keep your word, who is going to trust you? Your word's mud. Let me tell you something. Your ministry, you know how they judge you? By your kids and your relationship with your wife. I don't care what kind of ministry you're in. They will judge you by your kids and your relationship with your wife. Everything flows out of your home. Flows out of your relationship with God, flows out of your home, flows into ministry. You want friends? Be someone where your word. One of the best advices I ever got was an old Texas guy that I worked with my first job. He fired me, by the way, at one point because he sold the company and he let me go because I was expendable. Things you learn when you're young. But he taught me something. He said, your word's got to be your bond. Think about that. If you always tell the truth, you never have to remember what you said. You be in sales and you keep your word. I got $1 million account one day. Seriously, $1 million a year account one day as a salesman. Why? Because I followed through on what I told the engineer I was going to do. And he was so impressed by the fact that I was the first guy in that office who actually followed through 2 days later. I said, give me 48 hours, I'll have you an answer. I got him an answer, I wrote it up, I gave it to him. He was so blown away. He personally took me for coffee in the office and introduced to me the 17 other buyers and said, deal with him, he's straight. Word your bond. Don't make promises you don't intend to keep. God teaches that in His Word. That's a principle. I'm not giving you all the scriptures because the scriptures for virtually for all of us. Next one. Admit your mistakes and admit when you're wrong. I blew it. Listen, we celebrate brokenness here. You're going to learn more from your failures than your success. People will respect you more for how you handle it. You think we're good now, wait till we screw up. It's a saying I've said for years. Listen, they will never see the cross except through you. And if you stand up here and I stand up here and say, I sinned, I broke it, when I screw up, I'm decent at fessing up. I'm not perfect, but I'm decent. Listen, when you stand up in front of the room and say, I screwed up, they're going to see Jesus. Because the fact that they're going to see God's hope in working through your life, they'll believe that God can work through their lives. Along with that, apologize. Say you're sorry. You want traction with your wife? Not only admit that you were stupid, say, I am sorry for being stupid. Because men are stupid. Yes, we are. And by the way, you want the rules of relationships? Women read feelings, men read the funny papers. Every breakfast growing up, my dad, funny papers or sports section, mom was talking about life. You need to admit to say you're sorry. Listen, when you bust up with your friends, make it right. Say, I'm sorry. Listen, I am so sorry, man. And mean it. Not the hey, I'm sorry, man. No, truly mean it. You want to have dynamic friendships. Number 10, you've got to see their point of view. When you are actually talking through a situation and you're going through an argument, you need to put yourself in that other person's shoes. What are they seeing that you're not seeing? Listen, when you're arguing with somebody, when you're going toe-to-toe over an issue, you at some point in time in that conversation better say, God, show me what they're seeing. What am I missing here? When you start seeing things through other people's eyes, it will change how you deal with your relationships. Last one. You've got to respond without judging or retaliation. Growing up in a Methodist church, I was constantly amazed at the firefights. Anybody watch the TV show Combat when you were a kid, the little mortar shells, This little company of people had a little mortar over here, and people over here in the front pews over had a mortar there. There were 12 angry men who were chain smokers sitting in this back pew who were deacons. And you know, I mean, there's these little firefights going on, sniper here, just, that was church. What was entertaining to see who was ticked off at whom, what Sunday? And then people walk in, and they go, apparently God isn't here. Let me go down the street somewhere else. You can't judge people. This comes back to the cross. It comes back to, how does God see you? God sees you as forgiven. Yes, despite all your faults, all your sin, all your problems, he sees you as you're forgiven. So it means that you should see everybody else as forgiven. You can't judge people. You can't. Some of the worst discussions I've ever seen in church is, we have a meeting, we patch things up. I'm so sorry, forgive me, I love you. And 20 minutes out the door, the person's texting something stupid about that person to another person. Can't do that. Can't do that. That leads into our subject for next week, but I'm not going there, because next week we're going to talk about how to operate forgiveness, which is the next key component.
Do I need my scrubs?
Huh?
Do I need my scrubs?
Sure.
Okay.
I hope this helps you. These are key issues. You need to look to get along. By the way, we don't have necessarily any major problems in these areas as a church. We actually have a pretty good church. We're in unity, I'd probably say 98% of the time. You guys are really good about building relationships and getting together. But listen, there are going to be times when you're not going to get along with your spouse. There's going to be times you're not going to get along with your kids. There'll be times you're not going to get along with me. There's going to be times when you're not going to get along with a board member. There's times you're not going to get along with somebody who's in charge of a committee. There's going to be times when your best friend wants to go play golf instead of you playing tennis. You need to know how to work it out. Because by your love for one another, they shall know that you're my disciples. By your love for one another, how much you care supernaturally for each other, people will want your Jesus. How you function together is critical for the world to see Christ. How you get along in your home with each other. How you talk to your spouse with each other. How you talk to your kids. Your neighbors will go, wow. Wouldn't it be cool for once for them to say, wow, that's awesome, instead of, wow, you're screwed up. You're a bunch of hypocrites. So next week, we're going to talk about operating in forgiveness. Stay tuned for another exciting episode as we do life together.